Is that working?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm faintly amused by the fact that I had many more people yesterday when I had no slides and no idea what I was doing. Today I have slides and maybe some idea what I'm doing. Hey, that does work, right. So, those of you may have known, some of you may have noticed I'm a little bit blonder than last year. It's all part of the same madness. This is Iron Man, the Iron Man forfeit talk. And so the background of this, for those of you who've been living under a block for the past year, is that last year, at the Nordic Pearl Workshop, we launched the Iron Man blogging competition. The Iron Man blogging competition is about people going, hey, we do Pearl, we write Pearl, we post on mailing lists, we go and get drunk. Which is great, but it doesn't really show up very well on Google. Well, what we really need, forget pigeon rank, what we need is beer rank, right? But we don't have that. So what I did was I sort of said to the Pearl community, hey guys, let's all try and blog once a week. Let's see where we get doing that. Let's make some noise, let's actually remind the world that we're still doing stuff. And it's been fantastic fun. The general message was, hey people, get out there, get blogging. And those of you who were here last year will remember me attempting to give a lightning talk on that subject that was entirely built around profanity, without the profanity. That was an experience. I will kill Jesse for it later. However, part of getting the old guard out, people like Stephen Little, people like Andreas Koenig, like you know, they're not going to blog just for marketing. I had enough trouble convincing the people that you could say the word marketing and not have to go and throw up afterwards. Obviously, that's not what marketing's for, that's what too much beer is for. Anyway, so there was a forfeit attached, and part of the forfeit is that people got to vote. People got to vote on how they got to screw me over. And lo and behold, I put out a vote for a hair colour, and Stephen Little decided to try and vote for transparent to make me shave my head. Because that was going to happen. So given the fact that I wasn't going to shave my head, well, how do you do transparent as a hair colour? Well, polar bears. Everybody knows polar bears look white, yeah? But the top layer of polar bear's fur is transparent. So I got my hair as white as I could. And that was halfway there, but what Stephen Little seems to have forgotten when he started voting for transparent was that the other part of the forfeit was that if I couldn't do it as a hair colour, I had to do it as an outfit. Now, happily for you people, I found a way of getting around this that didn't involve walking onto stage naked. I wouldn't have minded, but I'm not sure you would. And I'm wearing a t-shirt. And lo and behold, if correctly rendered by a compliant browser, my outfit is transparent. So, people also got to vote for a title. That went really well. I got votes for 8 titles. I got 1 vote each for 8 titles. So, this is Iron Man and it will be all 8. Title 1, Initial Design Notes for Pearl 7. Thank you very much for that one. Pearl 7, but hang on a minute. It's been 10 years, we can't even get Pearl 6 released yet, can we? So what are we going to do about 7? Yeah, well, my basic idea here is very simple. Let's not have a Pearl 7. We already have Pearl 5 and Pearl 6. That's 2 brilliant programming languages. One of them I've been using to make my living for 10 years. The other one may be released in another 10 years. It's going to be epic. So, but no, seriously, version numbers suck. Version numbers confuse people. Version numbers, okay, Pearl 5, fantastic. Pearl 5 is about being done. Pearl 6, I'm starting to think is about never being done. Okay, that's not right, let's try again. Okay, well, Pearl 5. Pearl 5 is a wonderful, stable, powerful production language. Pearl 6 has been a long-standing, brilliant language research project that has come up with lots of ideas that those of us doing real work with Pearl have been stealing. And I really do, I am massively pleased about this. Huge numbers of talented language design people have all got to go off in this sandbox and play and come up with awesome ideas, and every time they come up with a good one, we steal it. Seems great to me. The big problem though is still the numbers confuse people. So my proposal is, well, why don't we try names instead? Okay, so Larry Wall, you've heard of him, right? Said a while back, Pearl 5 is a velociraptor. He also said something about what we need now is an acceleraptor. But number one, that isn't the word, and number two, no such thing existed. And okay, now I could make a very obvious joke about Pearl 6 on that, but I'm not going to. So alright, well let's say Raptor Pearl and Camellia Pearl then. Yeah, based on the mascot. I actually really like Camellia. Camellia is cute and sweet, and it looks absolutely nothing like any of the logos that are trademarked, and quite frankly that's an improvement on any other logo we have, so that's kind of cool. But okay, Raptor Pearl, Camellia Pearl. Pearl 5 is a velociraptor. You go, you deal with the problem, you tear the problem to very small pieces, and you leave, preferably to the pub. Butterfly. Yeah, alright, I don't really understand why they pick Camellia. It is pretty, but, but so, okay, well, you know, maybe Pearl 7 could be both. How do we combine those? Yeah, I'm not really sure. But you see, this comes back to many years ago. One of the men who helped define our industry said the two hardest problems in computer science are what to name things and what to cache. It's spot on. So I'm going to segue here into, well, design patterns. Design patterns are an interesting thing because they're basically our way of creating names for things that we can then share. It doesn't really matter if the names make any sense. What matters is that every other programmer you talk to uses the same name for the same thing. With the possible exception of the singleton pattern. Singleton pattern, yes, also known as Java doesn't have global variables, so we fake them a really complicated way. But this brings me on to title 2. MVC from Pac-Man to Django. So, Pac-Man. I guess quite a few of us started off doing computer game programming. I mean, I messed around on BBC and then I needed. Eventually I discovered that BBC Basic was not the world's greatest language, but I did quite enjoy it. So games are generally built around an input loop, yeah? Which is spinning, waiting for the player to hit a button. And a render loop, which flips stuff onto the screen. And then you need to track the positions of objects on screen so you can do collision detection, and so you can play a little noise when the player walks into a wall. I do wish the real world has that. I find myself walking into walls all the time and wondering where the noise is. Sound effects were better than Pac-Man, never mind. So, seriously about, so your input is controller. Your rendering is the view. Your state is the model. So seriously, game programming is actually quite a pure expression of MVC. In the manner that Xerox PARC used to do this. In the sort of original classic Smalltalk sense. So the original Smalltalk stuff was built on the observer pattern. The observer pattern is quite interesting. So the idea is that everything actually keeps track of what other stuff's doing. So when the model changes, the view is observing the model, so the view gets notified so it can update itself. So that's kind of like your repay loop, yeah? And then the controller has to observe both, because the controller not only needs to know, Yeah, the controller not only needs to know where things are on the screen, but whether they're valid. So, you know, it knows there's a text box here, but it's the model that tells it whether that text box is valid to accept input. So, okay, Pac-Man didn't need that part because, well, it was freaking Pac-Man, right? Pac-Man was just kind of, you know, up, down, left, right. Has anybody noticed Pac-Man is disappointingly devoid of machine guns? Oh, come on, how wonderful would it be, you know? You take one pill that goes through transparent, you take another pill, you get a machine gun and go hunting them. But of course there is this small problem here that Pac-Man doesn't have hands. So I'm not quite sure how we hold the gun. So maybe I should move on. So yeah, okay. So a mouse click is interpreted by the controller with help from the model and the viewer, and that's all great. Because you can tell whether the pointer's over a button, text box, tell the validity, and that's fine. So Django. Quite how I'm supposed to get to Django, I'm not sure. Ah, yes, you see, Django doesn't actually have a controller. Django has some regex that do URL dispatch, and then it calls its code the handle stuff, the view. And then it actually calls the template a template. I don't understand why every other web framework feels the need to call its templates the view, but anyway. Yes, Catalyst is wrong as well, I know. But anyway, so the interesting thing is Django does sort of have some controller code because it has a form library. Forms have always been a hard problem for web MVC frameworks. You can tell this by the fact that we had HTML widget, then we had CGI form build, then we had HTML form foo, then we had HTML form handler. And this year I am reliably told there will be at least 3 more released. And one of them may suck less, but don't count on it. No, seriously, forms are hard, because the problem is the rendering part of a form is view, and then the accepting the input is controller, and then you need to be able to check with the database whether stuff is valid, so that's model. So it's quite difficult to figure out exactly where forms fit in this whole principle. And so Django's model is, in terms of MVC, it's all wrong. They couldn't control the view, they don't really have a controller, then the form stuff tries to be all 3 at the same. However, Django was designed for content size. See, this is interesting. The company that Django came out of, oh, and going back to Perl, we suck at marketing. All of the back office work at the company that produced Django was written on top of a Perl MVC framework called Gentry that they released. And nobody's heard of it. The entire friggin' world's heard of Django, and nobody's heard of all the other stuff they do. I've got drunk with the developers of both, they're all wonderful people. But we suck at marketing! Anyway, the point is, content sites. Content sites are mostly view and model, because you don't have that much user input. So for Django, that actually works, Django specialist, and that actually works really well. And so Django sites tend to be very pretty, they tend to be effective, but okay, it's technically architecturally unsound. It still works, so you know, who cares? But it is architecturally unsound. And speaking of architecturally unsound, Title 3. Why PHP is the future of web development. So, okay, theoretically, PHP stands for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. I hereby propose a different version. No, the best description I've ever heard of PHP is a malignant Perl templating language that metastasized. I think that was either T-Christ or Thoth many years ago on RC, but anyway. So Rasmus Lernoff created PHP. By the way, I finally found out why this happened. Because I've been wondering, because